Joining us now, Rich Lowry, editor-in-chief of National Review, Emily Compagno, co-host of Outnumbered on Fox News, and author of the #1 New York Times best-selling book, Under His Wings. Okay, Emily, I'm going to have to read the book.
Absolutely.
I want to read the book. I can't afford it, so you'll probably send it.
There's a signed copy for you, of course.
But I would love to read the book. And I want to start with you. We were chewing on this similar thoughts on Outnumbered this morning. And I see this as a return to normalcy theme. Not everybody's going to agree with me, but I see this. I see this whole thing. You know, catching the bad guys, the jury system works, normal election night. But I really, when I watched Mr. Trump in Paris this weekend, yes, he is taking now his rightful place as the world's leader. There's no question about that. But I do think of it as the Al Smith dinner writ large. I think just being at the Notre Dame Cathedral and all of its splendor, he's making a statement about room. We have plenty of room. I'll put it to you that way. Plenty of room for religion. Plenty of room for spiritual culture in this country. The far left is wrong. They don't like religion. They don't like God. They've tried to keep it out. Mr. Trump during the campaign said no. He went to churches. He went to the Al Smith dinner. And that's how I saw this Notre Dame Cathedral ceremony too. It's almost, you know what, a statement to America and maybe the rest of the world as well. How about that? I'm sort of bumbling through this, but you know what I'm saying? This is a return to normalcy.
Yes, no, you were remarkably effective in how you articulated that. I agree that not only is his actions and America's actions indicating a restoration to normalcy, but also slaking the thirst of America that we have had for now so many years, craving faith and craving a graceful capture of our Judeo-Christian values, not in this, to your point, how you articulated earlier, a separation of church and state to a fault, to a secularity, to a negative. The original concept of separation of church and state was the protection of exercising one's faith from persecution of the government. And under the current administration, Americans were shown exactly what happens when there is a straight-up persecution of Judeo-Christian faith. And we saw it in the FBI, the DOJ, we saw it in our administration leaders. You know, look at Kamala Harris, for example. So President-elect Trump attended the Al Smith dinner. Kamala Harris did not attend, nor did she record a message, which prior vice presidents and presidents have. So the precedence that this administration set was a full-out attack on those who dare to have morals and values based on the family structure, based on God, faith, and country. President Trump came in and said, look, not only do I represent this, but I represent a freedom for Americans to do so themselves. And that's why my book shot to #1, day one. It's why the Bible, as you said, has increased massively in sales.
Bible sales have increased enormously. And your book is about faith in the military, is that right? Which is so important, so important.
Thank you.
Rich Lowry, I mean, the return to normalcy theme, and I'm probably spreading my wings too far in this, but nonetheless, not just the orderly election night a month ago, more or less, but also, look, the jury did right with Daniel Penny. There's no question about that. Every sane person except Alvin Bragg, who was not a sane person, understood that. Maybe the judge, too, who was playing footsie with Bragg underneath the table. Okay, that was pretty bad. But also, look, let the cops and the FBI field agents do their job. Depoliticize the legal system. Stop all this retribution. Stop all this weaponization. Stop all this lawfare stuff. And I will say ironically, but I don't even think that's fair, it is Mr. Trump who's the guy who's going to do it. No one ever did it the way Joe Biden did, and look how it backfired.
Yeah, so first of all, when you can get Magna Carta and Notre Dame in one opening
monologue,
that's an A+.
I worked on that.
That's an A+, Larry.
I really worked on
But this Penny case, never should have been brought. This is a good day for New York City, a good day for the justice system, and a good day for Daniel Penny. If he had punched someone randomly on a subway platform and been half out of his mind, he'd be on the streets instantly. Instead, he was dragged through a years-long ordeal for being the good guy, for being that rare person who dares to stand up and protect others, and Bragg went after him, and with an illegitimate tactic, right? He had these 2 charges on the assumption, oh, if they reject the most serious one, then they'll compromise on the second one and send him to jail for 4 years or whatever it is. Good for the jury for seeing through it and rejecting it.
A good day for New York City also, and the Blue Line, the New York City cops, the New York's finest, and the FBI agents. If the guy they caught in Altoona, Pennsylvania, turns out to be the murderous killer of this healthcare executive, which is a hideous, heinous crime, and which, by the way, you know, New York City needs this. New York City needs to show that a jury will make Penny a hero, not a goat, right? Not keep him at jail. And it needs to show that it can find a hideous killer and capture that killer. Now, I'm getting ahead of the story with the hideous killer part, but I have a feeling they're onto something. New York needs this.
Absolutely.
And so does the rest of the country, for heaven's sake.
So this guy's been celebrated. This act of murder has met with a lot of sympathy, which is outrageous. As of a week ago, I would have thought that was crazy. There's no way that people would celebrate a cold-blooded assassination. And in terms of New York City, you don't want to be the city that executives come to and get shot in the back, right? You don't. So it looks as though if this is the guy, this is awesome police work, Larry, the way they hunted down the trail and found this guy. All
right. I want to move on, but I really love these. I really love these thoughts. The end, as you know, the Meet the Press interview, I was very disappointed, but I don't want to go there. Maybe I shouldn't have been disappointed. But I want to play some immigration tape on this and let you two comment on that, because Mr. Trump is clarifying some of his positions. Take a listen on this immigration, please.
I'm not looking to go back into the past. I'm looking to make our country successful. Retribution will be through success, and we're going to all work together, and we're going to bring it together. And you know what's going to bring it together? Success. Unity. It's going to be a message of unity. And again, I think success brings unity.
The unity one, which I love. Happy to play it all over again. While we're talking, we may try to get back the immigration tape, which I do want to play. We have, okay, here it comes. Here's immigration. I knew we could do it.
You know, the people that have been treated very unfairly are the people that have been online for 10 years to come into the country. And we're going to make it very easy for people to come in terms of they have to pass the test. We have to get the criminals out of our country. But we're starting with the criminals, and we got to do it. And then we're starting with others, and we're going to see how it goes.
All right, so he's starting with the criminals. This is on the deportation question. By the way, the beefing up the border wall remain in Mexico will be at the top of his list the very first day he's inaugurated. But on this point, Emily, it is interesting. He's throwing an olive branch here. This is, again, I could have even included this in the return to normalcy. Throwing an olive branch to Democrats. He's basically saying, you know what? We can talk about the Dreamers. That's the least of our problem right now. Maybe we can work something out. Incidentally, we tried to work something out in his first term, but Democrats did not want a broader-based legal immigration reform plan. But now he's saying to them, all right, we may be able to work something out in Dreamers, but we must deport the criminals. Now, I think that's pretty good on both counts. Number one, makes his position clear on deporting criminals. And number two, he's going softly right now. And I think that's a positive.
Well, I see it as effective triage. So essentially we're looking at is an emergency room physician saying, I'm going to stop the bleeding right now. I'm going to save this person's life. And then while they're recovering, the next step, we can talk about their, the cholesterol. And so what I see here is that he's essentially saying, look, at this moment, we have, as we know, 750,000 illegal immigrants who happen to be criminals, who have histories, recorded criminal histories and convictions, and that's regardless of them crossing the border illegally here. So he's saying, let's triage and get these criminals out. Let's deport those that are sort of really eradicating and eroding any type of law and order whatsoever in many cities, to the point where every state is a border state. That's why. And then let's talk about legislation. And let's talk about that in a meaningful way where everyone can get on board, and there's no name calling from those on the left, and there's no knee-jerk talk about that he's a fascist and the like. So I see that as effective communication, but also effective leadership at this moment, and exactly the kind of governing that we need, which is stem the flow right now, and then we can hit the salient points later on after we've managed the triage.
Rich Lowry, what's so interesting here is the public likes what he's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, the numbers on his transition are the best numbers he has ever had. Well over 50% approval. The best numbers he's ever had, I say that. He's being sensible. He's being common sensible. He's doing what he said he was going to do. but he's doing it. You know what? Think of it, his tone, his demeanor. These are all things that the far left railed on. He's not doing that. He actually didn't do it in the campaign either, but they never give him credit. He's just, I'm not saying he's a different guy. He's the same guy. But people are getting to know him, and he himself is showing right now, a month after the election, right now during the transition, that he can govern.
Yeah, that tone. Well, first of all, it's the smoothest presidential transition ever, right? Because Donald Trump is effectively already president, and he's not going to be inaugurated for another month and a half or whatever it is. But you saw in that interview, the tone was measured. He emphasized he got elected on the border and the economy, especially prices and groceries. He knows that. He's going to focus on that. And who's really going to oppose deporting illegal immigrant criminals, right? That's what they're going to focus on first. As Emily points out, hundreds of thousands of them. And after that tranche, you have about 1.3 million people who have defied deportation orders, have gone through the system, been ordered deported and stayed. If you can get all those people out, that's a lot, and that'd be an enormous victory. And you'd send a message we're serious about enforcement again, which would discourage people from coming in the first place.
And Kristen Welker repeatedly tried to entrap him in that Meet the Press thing, where he would, I'm going to get the Bidens. I'm going to throw this one in jail. I'm going to throw that one in jail. He wouldn't take the bait. I mean, he's just really gotten very good at it, which is part of the reason for his popularity. And also, he believes in God, which I think is part of the reason for his popularity. Last word, Emily Compagno.
Amen to that. I think we're seeing 2.0 President Trump, and like all of us, with a little experience, we get better, we get more graceful, and I think the administration in between 45 and 47 actually, I think, made him much stronger, more effective.
Good points. All right. Emily Compagno and Rich Lowry, thank you
Larry.
ever so much.